The League of the Genuine is back with a favorite discussion on the subject of fakes, counterfeits, substandard goods. We are here with a good friend of mine, a lawyer, practicing lawyer, Amalie Tibugwisa. You are welcome to the show.
Thank you very much, Fred.
Yes, Amalie, I know that you are quite familiar with our work here, having been part of us, but you have now grown wings and established yourself, and recently I saw that you have changed to Tara Advocates. Yes. I don't know whether it has something to do with the implementation of the final investment decision in the oil and gas sector. Are you targeting some dollars that we are not seeing?
That's true. We're targeting the dollars, but it has nothing to do with that. So, yes, like you said, for the viewers, my name is Amalie Tibugwisa, and I must say that being part of SCN and the work that SCN has done is one of my proudest moments, because what SCN does is a very noble cause, fighting counterfeits which affect all of us. So I'm proud to be associated, I'm proud to, and happy to be here. Yes, we rebranded. I started the firm in 2019 as Tibugwisa and Company Advocates. As you know, Law Council easily approves your surname. So for me, it was easy to get the approval of the name Tibugwisa. But I knew that the brand needed to grow beyond me and to be more inclusive. So that is why we applied for Tara and got it. And
What does Tara mean?
So Tara means, first of all, it's not an acronym, as many people think. Tara means a star in Hindi. It also means a place where kings meet in Irish. So it's a combination of those things that we aspire to be as a brand. We think that we provide star services, which means that they're genuine, but it also means that we are positioning ourselves to serve kings and queens of the world.
Amalie, when we talk about the subject of counterfeits, somebody may think it is too far away from the practice of law. But in fact, the 3,000 or so practicing lawyers that we have in the country have challenges in providing a genuine service, if you like. We have so many cases of quack lawyers, okay? Offering a quack service. Definitely, we have a lot of complaints by the clients. Could you paint a picture on what the situation of faking in the law business looks like? Is it rampant? Is it minor? Should people be worried or not?
I think that anyone who does not take counterfeiting seriously is really fooling themselves. And counterfeiting is not just about products, because when we think about counterfeiting, we think, water, Blue Band, or products like that. But counterfeiting also happens in services. And for legal services, it's terrible when it happens, because there's a certain degree of respect and importance that legal services offer. And so when the services are mad with counterfeiting, with fake services, of course that affects everyone that receives legal services. And as a lawyer, you know that almost every single aspect of life is governed by a law, be it natural law, be it statutory law. In practice, you will counter evidence of counterfeiting of services, yes? It's not uncommon to see people come up with brands, for example, even of law firms, which are similar to existing law firms, because they want to ride on the goodwill and brand of existing law firms. Of course, Law Council is there to do the sorting out and vetting, but it's not foolproof, yeah? We have issues where you are dealing with a lawyer and they fake judgments, where you get an order of court and someone removes what the court ordered and finds a way of embossing it with the seal of court, and then you have that as an order, only to find out that it was faked. So, of course, we have evidence of counterfeiting in the profession.
So, Amalie, what do you think has increased the incidence of fake legal services? Because for us who are older, in our days, You would not even imagine that a court order would be faked. In those days when we used to do executions, like when you get an order and you're going to do an attachment, you go to the police and they don't need to verify with the court whether the order is genuine.
Yeah.
If you presented your practicing certificate to any authority or your degree papers,
Yes.
there would be no doubt. But these days, Damali, even if you present yourself that this is Damali, I'm the lawyer,
Yeah.
somebody still has to cross-check. Is she the one? Maybe we do eye recognition and so on.
Yeah.
What, in your view, is the driver of this faking in the legal profession?
I think without a doubt it's corruption. Because if orders are going to be obtained because of corruption, if I'm going to have services rendered by public officials out of corruption or receipt of bribery, then that means that the entire system is compromised. So I think that corruption is one of the issues that has affected the legal fraternity.
Corruption of the society or of the lawyers?
Everyone involved. Because and corruption, when we think about corruption, we think that it's taking a big bribe to someone. But it's simple things like I have to pay facilitation to someone who is paid to do a particular job, and they have to expect that they will be paid something before they do it. Or else my work is left in the backlog and it will take weeks before it's done. And that is corruption as well. So for me, corruption would be the first instance or the first reason I think that counterfeits have persisted. The other one is apathy, that yes, we see that things have gone bad, but we'll all cross our hands and say maybe someone else will do it. So the law society is
negligence.
Negligence. It's negligence of knowing that you have a duty, and as lawyers, we are officers of court. We have a duty to court, we have a duty to the public. But when we sit back and do not do that duty, and do not exercise our skills with optimally, then we are bound to be victims as well.
Here on the League of the Genuine, we have an acronym called DANKANI, which we think represents the drivers of counterfeiting. And among the things there is failure to differentiate, because I think many clients or many people cannot differentiate between a real lawyer and a quack lawyer, because we all wear suits and a tie and put on a wig maybe. So differentiation is a problem. Affordability. These days, normally we have law firms everywhere. You'll find a law firm in an arcade, in some place. And despite the fact that we have a law requiring us to charge a minimum amount, you'll find a lawyer who is ready to charge less than 10% of the fees. We have things like convenience. As you know, this is the place where I can find the service. This is the person I know. We have things like aspiration. This kind of, I think the .com era has brought it up, where everybody likes to, to be in the league and so on. All these we think are factors that are causing the faking in the business. But now let's flash a light in the practice of law itself. Now those are outside factors. In the practice of law, isn't it corruption for a lawyer to promise a service? I will do ABC. They take money and they actually do not provide that service, owing to incompetence, lack of preparation, negligence. Isn't that also a major thing that you have seen in practice?
I think that I have seen that, and it's even more common amongst the young lawyers, and you've sort of hinted about it or on it, because the get rich quick scheme is quite apparent in the legal fraternity. Someone gets out of law school and they think that in the first 2 years they should be driving, they should have a house, they should be seen to be making money
and go for holiday.
And part of that is because they look up to people like you who have I don't know how many cars, and they will think that by just if I can get a few deals, then I should be able to make my way there. So because of that hunger for quick money, you find that they will compromise on skill, they will compromise on quality, they will compromise on everything that the code of conduct for lawyers tells us to do.
So don't you think, therefore, that the fakeness of the legal services, some of which we have, is caused by poor regulation and enforcement of regulation? I was in Boston one time, and I was talking to a lawyer friend. The system in Boston of professional indemnity for the lawyers, I mean, a lawyer takes care, even when they're writing for a client a letter, they have got to get the approval for everything. They get back to the client, because the clients in Boston, I saw that they sue virtually the lawyers for virtually everything. If you give an opinion and you missed out the latest position on the law, you're taken to book. Why did you misadvise me? But here, somebody misadvises and gets out with it. So is regulation, or the failure of regulation, a factor in why we have an increase in the counterfeit legal services, if you like?
I agree almost entirely, because as lawyers we are regulated by the Advocates Act. We're also part of Uganda Law Society, and Law Council is the one that supervises or regulates our conduct. I don't know if, and I want to think that maybe Law Council is constrained by resources, and also that the number of lawyers is growing faster than the capacity of Law Council. If our laws were to be enforced the way the legislature prescribed, then we'll not have such instances. There's been a debate about, for example, Semakade, yes, and Malemabiris. And I saw yesterday that he wrote a letter to the director of Uganda Law Society complaining that under what authority did he write, I think, to Law Council complaining about his conduct. And it's interesting to see how many people are on both sides saying, you know, he has the right to speak whatever he says, and then other people who say, no, he should not be doing that. And in the midst of this, we don't see Law Council coming out to say, this should be done. Even the judicial officers who are complaining about his conduct, for example, we don't see that they have used the legal mechanisms in place to bring him to book. So if the laws were enforced in respect of regulation of the lawyers, then we would not have the situation that we have.
Okay, so there's a lot of permissiveness, both on the stakeholders who are supposed to enforce and those. But let me go a bit into the role of lawyers in promoting corrupt practices in respect of land. It is very common nowadays for a lawyer to be a party to a fictitious land transaction. The house doesn't belong to the vendor. The seller is duped of billions of shillings. Do you feel that we as lawyers have a higher duty on due diligence? Should we be doing a KYC on our clients? Because the defense for many lawyers who get involved in these transactions is that I didn't know. For me, the client just walked in. Should we be doing a due diligence on clients, or the money is too sweet for us to do the due diligence? We just take it.
I think until you're caught in the middle of something like that, you'd never realize how your signature is very important. And of course, you receive these instructions and the economy hasn't been good. So there are many lawyers who are hungry to do any transaction that comes their way. And the clients also don't help matters, because they'll come to you and say, we want to close the deal today, yes? So when you say we have to do due diligence to find out if you're the legitimate owner, they'll go to another lawyer. Some clients will even tell you, but I talked to this lawyer and they said that they could do this in 2 days. Yesterday, one of the clients said they were told by someone that they could get an administrator removed in a matter of 2 weeks. An administrator appointed of an estate removed by court in 2 weeks. They're like, which court is going to do that? But first, it's the clients, and so there has to be responsibility on both the parts, the clients and the lawyers. But back to your point, I agree that as lawyers, we have to be more diligent, because when you're caught in the middle of a transaction, and usually for such deals, you're not even paid handsomely. Someone will even negotiate and say, let me give you 500,000. It's a simple land agreement. But when we should think about the repercussions of what we are doing, because even if it's innocent, if someone is defrauded, you're obviously going to be affected along there.
So you're saying that lawyers do not have an obligation to take on every brief?
No. We should never be too desperate to take on every brief at the expense of our professional ethics, at the expense of the security of our profession.
As we end this segment, Damali, there is a widely held notion that lawyers are liars. In 30 seconds, can you defend your colleagues? Are they liars? Are they not liars? Are they fake? Are they not fake?
Lawyers are not fake, but human beings can be fake and human beings can be genuine. I think that we are first human beings before we are lawyers. I'm sure that people who are deceitful, even if they were not lawyers, they might still be deceitful. I don't think that lawyers are liars. I think that clients also come to us with the expectation, because they've had this notion and stereotype of lawyers are liars, so they think you're going to lie on their behalf. But also, many people who have asked that question have asked it in the context of the criminal justice system, where they will say, oh, but you're a lawyer and you defended a murderer, and they don't understand the context and the concepts and principles behind it. For example, I might be representing someone who is said to have killed, and in the eyes of public court, that person is a murderer. But as a lawyer, it's my duty to assist that person tell their story. And their story might be that I had a defense, I was provoked, or I was doing it in self-defense. And so when the lawyer does that, because the public has already sort of judged this man and condemned him to be a murderer, they'll say, oh, lawyers are liars. But all we are doing
Whereas
is...
they are not. I need to add my voice as a lawyer as well to what Damali has said. Lawyers are not liars. They just find the lies in the case. Welcome back to the second segment of our League of the Genuine discussions. We are discussing counterfeits in the legal profession, in the justice law and order sector. We are here with Damali Tibugwisa of Tara Advocates, and she's here to share with us her understanding of fakes in her profession. Damali, you are an IP legal practitioner. And IP, meaning intellectual property, is actually the branch of the law that deals with protection of trademarks, patents, intellectual property. But there appears to be a feeling that, you know, these intellectual property laws on trademarks, on copyrights, are not protecting the creators of works in those areas. I hosted Ruchi a few weeks ago, and he was saying there's a rampant problem of copying and pirating of music and so on. Do you think we have a sufficient legal regime to protect intellectual property for the owners of the intellectual property, and to protect the consumers from infringed goods on the market? Is the law sufficient? Can you speak to that?
That's a very good question, because very often we receive, you hear people say things like, there's no law to protect me, yeah? Someone is faking my product, but there's no law to protect me. And that comes from, for lack of a better word, an ignorant point of view. I think that Uganda has one of the best legal systems when it comes to IP. Uganda is a signatory to most conventions, the TRIPS Convention, Berne Convention, Madrid Protocol, and all those most of them have been nationalized into the Trademarks Act, into the Copyright and Neighboring Rights Act, into the Industrial Property Act. And when you look at those statutes, they reinforce and protect intellectual property rights. Innovators are protected, artists are protected under the copyright law, people who own brands are protected under the Trademarks Act, and there are civil remedies that everyone can get. You can get injunctions, you can get damages, you can get an account for profits. There are also offenses that have been created under those different statutes, including counterfeiting. So
counterfeiting of a trademark,
and all those things.
But Amalie, I think the problem here is that the problem here is that the protection regime, the legal protection regime, is based largely on registration. In other words, if you make this product and you want the trade name and the trade dress to be protected, you must register or get a license for it. And that because of the low incidence of intellectual property awareness, you have few cases, because as a commercial lawyer, you know, if you check the commercial court, the number of trademark or IP cases, if you had 2,000 cases in a year, will not even be 50. So to what extent is the law awareness by the public or by the stakeholders of IP rights affecting the protection that, and denying the protections that the law provides?
I think that very few people know about intellectual property, and the body that is supposed to help with awareness is Uganda Registration Services Bureau, and it's been very active lately. They will do makeshift, workshops. They'll go to town councils and educate people, but that's not enough. And I have also...
What should they do?
They should break it down in the simplest terms. I mean, intellectual property as a word alone is a complex term for the average person.
Should they do it in vernacular also, break it down into languages?
So they need to break it down. We need to have translations, for example, of laws, intellectual property laws, into our local languages. The other day, the Uganda Law Reform Commission did something commendable, which was to issue a notice that they had now published a Braille version of the Constitution. Now, and the Constitution also says that the government should ensure that the citizens know about the law through dissemination of information and all these programs that are supposed to do that. So what they need to do is do more translations, do enough versions for whatever category of people with needs that is needed, but also approach it from a different perspective. Things like what SCN is doing, which is not the conventional way of dissemination of information. Programs like this will go a long way in helping the common person understand that intellectual property is important, and that if your rights are infringed upon, there's a remedy for it, and that there are sufficient laws.
Yeah, by the way, we've got feedback from you. Some people have asked us to have more programming in Luganda and other languages. We're still working on the facilitation of that. But the point being that many people, the smallholder businesses and so on, they are not really very comfortable with English and so on, and if you keep the laws in English.
And the other thing I have noticed is the misconception that once I have registered the business, I don't need to register the trademark.
Meaning registered the company?
Yes. So you will find someone will go and register a company with your RSB, and when you tell them that no, it's not enough for you to register the company, you have to register the brand name, they'll be like, but I have a certificate of incorporation. So that misconception must be communicated, and people need to be educated that there are two different systems of registration and recognition of rights. But also, when you started, you talked about how rights are given upon registration. But our Trademarks Act also allows it recognizes rights that accrue as a result of growing your brand and reputation, which is founded on the passing of cause of action. So there is that for people who have been on the market for long, even if you've not registered, which is not encouraged, but even if you've not registered, you can still get redress. Yeah. And for copyright, for example, you don't even need to register. Of course, registration is important.
It's for evidence purposes.
Court, but the artists out there need to know that I don't even need to register as long as I can prove I am the originator.
Amalie, people listening to us might think that whatever we are saying has little practical significance because we are a largely import-dependent country. So you have a lot of products coming onto the market where the instructions, the names on the packaging are in Arabic, Turkish, and so on. And so the person cannot even know what the expiry date is, if they are trying to look for ingredients and so on. To what extent is the fact that we have little local manufacturing, especially for fast-moving consumer goods, household goods, to what extent is it affecting any effort to fight fakes on the market? Seeing as UNBS said maybe 60% is fake.
I think the risk in the fact that most of our products are imported comes from the fact that there's no presumption that these products are genuine, but also that we do not know who the manufacturers of these of these products are. So when we see a product on the market, we have the presumption that UNBS has done its part. And if you look at the standards, the importation of products is so onerous. There's a presumption that UNBS should send representatives to the country of manufacture who are supposed to, check and inspect if these products are being manufactured in
accordance with are they doing their job?
But are they doing that? So, I mean, if
because Damali, you remember there's a case we have done here of fake Weetabix and cornflakes.
Yes.
Small kids ate the product and they got sick and so on. In fact, a lot of those wheat-based meals or products on the market are actually expired. What these guys are doing is to change the expiry date, and then the product goes onto the market. So you are saying that the fact that we don't have capacity to inspect and check things out, we can shout as much as we want here.
But we will never know if that product is a genuine product or not. We will never know if it's a substandard product or not. We look at it on face value and believe that it's a genuine product, which is what in that particular case of the cornflakes case. The lady went to the supermarket, the packaging was good.
A big supermarket, we can say it here, it was ShopRite. It closed, but the case is still in court. The lady still wants to get compensation.
Yeah. So for as long as we have no control over what happens outside our country, we will always be at risk.
So do you think as a solution, one of the ways is for us to get serious with the Bubu policy, buy Uganda, build Uganda, buy Uganda, so that we have local manufacturing units which can be checked and probably give some control back to UNBS and URA and all these guys?
I think so. I think that would be a good recommendation, but I know that it will take a while before the dynamics change. Yeah, it's implemented, but also, I mean, if the biggest percentages of imports, it will take a while before the Bubu policy picks up. So even whilst that is being implemented, we need to see that there are measures to prevent the entry of substandard products.
Okay, let's get back now into some more IP. I was a panelist at the annual law conference last year, and one of the topics for discussion which I discussed was on the TRIPS waivers, which are a waiver from the normal protections and protection regime on if you own a patent or a trademark. There is a move in World Trade Organization to take away some of these restrictions. I hear because of COVID, to help the poorer countries to access medicines and things that are needed to fight COVID. At the conference, I thought that this was good, but it's going to be abused because our supply chains in the health sector are infiltrated by counterfeiters, and so in the end we might have more fakes onto the market in the health system because of the TRIPS waivers. What's your take on that suggestion, which is being pushed moreover by countries like India? Okay, South Africa is there as well. What's your take on that?
I think that the waivers are important for LDCs like Uganda. And interestingly, even European countries are starting to rethink the exclusion of those waivers on some of their countries. Because, of course, a lot of research and development goes into the manufacturing or coming up of a drug, for example. And so the creators of these products should be remunerated fairly and reasonably. But everything doesn't work in a vacuum and in the abstract. We have to recognize as intellectual property practitioners that the skills are not balanced. There are developed countries and developing countries. The right to health is a right guaranteed under the Constitution, and that therefore there should be access to medicine. Prices of medicine shouldn't be exorbitant. And so what the waivers help is to ensure that countries like Uganda can receive generic medicines and cheap medicines. But I know that because of that, the standards are likely to be compromised. And you're likely to have, just like you've mentioned, you're likely to have counterfeits come in. But I don't think that the counterfeits come in because of waivers. Counterfeits come in because of all the loopholes, all the gaps in our enforcement systems. Because even in products where we don't have waivers, and we still have counterfeits coming in. So for me, I don't think that the issue of counterfeit is really because of waivers.
We as IP practitioners, as lawyers protecting brand owners, we are often accused of protecting foreign capital and foreign interests and foreign brands when we stop other people from innovating, and if you like to use the Ugandan speak, you don't allow other people to survive and copy and so on. And I'm seeing a story here that drug companies in South Africa have sued the government for allowing the manufacture and sale of generics. A generic being if you have the original formulation of Panadol, for example, as manufactured by GlaxoSmithKline, Beecham, the owners, then you have another company here, Cipla, manufacturing the same Panadol with the same ingredients. The other one is called a generic. So you think that accusation against us and the belief that we are promoting foreign as opposed to the local interests, you think it stands that we're not being genuine or legit? How do you balance those two?
I think that it's important to balance the rights of private individuals and the rights of the public. And usually they say that where there's a conflict, depending on the extent, you interpret it in favor of the public. So when manufacturers invest the amount they do, and the only reason they invest is because they expect a return on investment. So in the first place, it's not fair to say that we should just allow, products to come onto the market because we want to promote the right to health. But at the same time, we have to recognize our circumstances as a country and the need for it. And so there has to be a balance in the debate, balance on the right of access. So when you say South Africa, for example, those companies that are suing South Africa, we again go back to the test of whether is South Africa a less developed country. Should it be enjoying the waivers under the TRIPS agreement? The reason the waivers are there is because all these countries that are members of World Trade Organization recognized that certain countries cannot afford to exercise the rigidities. And so they allow those countries in their national laws to prescribe things like compulsory licenses to companies to import generic products. So only if these people can demonstrate that South Africa can afford, and its population can afford medicines that are not generic, that is, in my view, that is the only way they can succeed in that action.
And Amalie, you're talking about life-saving drugs like HIV drugs, anti-cancer, anti-malaria. And most of the people there can't afford. Anyway, we need to take a break. When we return, we shall be talking about counterfeits in the digital economy, and we shall also get Amalie to sum up, to tell us her experience with counterfeits as a consumer and as a mother. We are back with the last segment of the League of the Genuine Conversations. We are here with Amalie Tibugwisa Ntende. She's a practicing commercial lawyer, and we broke off when we were talking about the prevalence or the incidence of counterfeits in the digital economy, basically your Jumias of this world, eBay, Amazon. A report suggests that there was an increase in the global retail trade online significantly, and that there was even a bigger increase during COVID, post-COVID. But the report also suggests, for example, with electronics, that more than 40% of the electronics that were sold during the same period were actually fake. Name it, phones, appliances. Is the online platform promoting counterfeits?
The online platform is the future, yes, and like you've mentioned, COVID has even made it clearer. Now it's difficult to find someone downtown, and unlike those days when if someone needed shoes, they would first go downtown. Now all I would do is either go to Jumia or go to my status and look at the people who deal in shoes and order for it. And because of convenience, remember when you talked about Duncan and how convenience is one of the things that as consumers we aspire for, we chase. The online platform gives you that convenience. But we have no way of verifying whether the trader is genuine or not. And it's worse if they are on platforms like Amazon, eBay, or I don't want to say Alibaba, but yeah, international platforms that are recognized, and so we think that every product that is there is genuine. And there's something that the online platform sort of puts a veil on counterfeits. When you go to a shop, and when you go to a physical shop, it's easy for you to assess and know that it's a fake shop. For example, if you went to a Kafunda and you found a MacBook, you would be very skeptical as to whether it's genuine. Now, online, everything is dressed up to match the brand that you're buying from. And so it's not easy to discern as a consumer whether it's genuine or fake. Also, the things that we enjoy from the physical shopping, like examination of the product, because as IP practitioners we say, and the laws also say, you look at the two products side by side and assess whether they are similar or not. The online presence doesn't give you that. You can zoom in all you want, but you will not know until the product is here. A friend bought a laptop the other day online and the battery died after a few days. Meanwhile, it came from the UK. And so he was like, I bought it from the UK, it can't be fake. And so although the online platform is the future, we are bound to see a lot of counterfeiting happening, and many of us are going to fall victims and are already falling victims. Unfortunately, I don't think that the government is ready, even in terms of enforcement of those things.
Regulating
that space. Even the cost of enforcing it. Okay, if I've bought a product, let's say a laptop that is fake, first of all, the shipment cost alone is a deterrent for me to say I'm going to send it back for them to examine if it's genuine or fake, then I get a refund. So without a doubt, the online platform is going to be a challenge for...
So Amalie, you say online platform is the future, but can it replace the physical experience of buying? And I say this against the background of what Jumia Food did, I think last year with the UNDP. They called it contactless delivery and cashless payments. Now, isn't this superficial? Because the delivery that you receive has had a physical contact, either with a fake supplier or genuine supplier. It has physical transportation from point A to point B. It has also had physical contact with money. We have a lot of counterfeit banknotes and so on. So don't you think that these are empty promises to say that you are safe, and then you see a lot of billboards, we give you genuine, whereas they actually do not have a track and trace system on ensuring that you get a genuine supply. So this future you are talking about, is it a bleak future of online shopping in terms of fakes?
I think that it's bad, but it's not as bad as it seems, because some platforms have a return policy. Yes, of course they'll give you timelines. They'll say within a week, if you don't like what you've received, you can return it. Of course there are challenges with that, but at least you know that they will offer you that opportunity. But many don't, especially the informal ones don't. So I agree that the online presence is clothed with a lot of
issues, and you're talking about a
issues.
return policy.
Yeah.
Is there a disposal policy? Supposing what is returned is found to be fake, do we know that returned product does not get back into the market? Do we actually have evidence that if the product was a fake, it's actually destroyed?
That product actually comes back to the market.
So
you know why?
So
For
the return
example,
policy is fake.
Jumia does not have a store of its own that manufactures this product. So it's not risk. What it does is to say, Alan, you have a shop, you have products, we can give you a presence. So if the customer rejects the product, they take it back to Alan. And so
the return policy is fake. It doesn't actually help to take out.
It doesn't take out.
One of the other fake things that I've seen on online platforms is that they rely a lot for their sales on product reviews. So if a product has a lot of positive reviews and so on, you're likely to go and buy it.
Yeah.
I know for a fact that there are a lot of trading platforms that employ hundreds and hundreds of people whose job every day is to post a positive review. This was nice, this was so. If there is one lone objection by Fred,
overshadowed.
It is going to be swamped by 1,000. I liked it, so you go ahead and buy. So don't you see that also as a major area where the online shopping platforms are not controlling? So we are exposed.
That goes back to enforcement of regulation, yes, and the extent to which the people who are in charge of enforcement can do it.
No, before you say regulation, what about the ethical practices? Before you wait for a regulator, you, the owner of the platform, don't you have an obligation to ensure that on your platform you don't have misleading reviews like those to push sales?
So that the owners of the platform will try to put in place certain mechanisms which should tell whether this is a genuine review or not. But it's not foolproof, because they will ask you for things like your name, your email address, and ideally they should be able to tell your location. But it's not foolproof, and there's only so much they can also do. I mean, even on platforms with capacity, let's say Instagram or Facebook or Twitter, that do verification of, let's say, celebrities, you would assume that they have the resources and means to verify if all their subscribers are genuine subscribers. But we have cases where celebrities have over 2 million subscribers and they're all fake, and they can't verify whether they are fake or not. So it would be onerous to put the obligation completely on the
So don't you
the
think
owners.
that the online shopping platforms are creating more problems than they are solving, seeing as we have situations sometimes where some hackers go into the system, they put fake money there, and then they get goods delivered. So this online shopping is actually also promoting illicit money flows and money laundering. So, and laundering and so on promotes financial things like terrorism and so on. So we are actually financing against our own safety by these platforms. So
because the online platform is new, it has to face the challenges that any new product faces. You will have cybersecurity issues, you will have all these complaints that you've raised about it. Those, in my view, should not overshadow the benefits that these platforms offer. And that is why, I would say that the regulators then should find ways of making sure that they enforce the law to make sure that all these vices against these platforms are not encouraged. And I know it's difficult for them to do, but that is the only way. Because if you told me that tomorrow you're going to remove all the online platforms, honestly, I'll be inconvenienced. If I use safe border, I will not be able to get my border home. If I buy my products on Jumia, it means I have to go down to Chikugo. If I buy my food from an app, it means that I have to incur that cost of, the inconvenience that it comes with. So for me, we promote the online platforms, but find ways of curbing the vices and issues that
one of the biggest arguments at the World Trade Organization is the issue of unfair trading terms, the developed countries with the less developed countries. Now, when it comes to the digital economy, it is being used by the consumers in the developing country to basically consume. It's not promoting production. By we guys here, we are just going online there to consume, and yet at WTO we are saying allow us to produce more. So don't you think it's counterintuitive for us to be online there and at the same time physically we want to produce and sell, but we're not?
Actually, I think it's doing both. I have a few people that I know who can't afford rent. They can't afford to go to an apartment or a shop to rent that space. But because of COVID, they were able to do certain things. And I know you will have issues for people doing things in their kitchens and they are putting up those products. I think that I want to believe that the online platform has given people the means to be producers and to have a market. So people who are doing, for example, necklaces from their homes are now being able to put them there. In a way, therefore, in my view, it's doing both. It's promoting.
Doing both. So
yeah.
It's up to the individual to
choose
use
which role
or
they want to
misuse.
play. Yeah.
Okay, we are about to end, but I know you have a plot on social media. You are very active online. These things, TikTok and all these things, are they for development or against development? Is something serious happening out of that? And as a mother, would you have your children on social media? Would you encourage that they can find a good upbringing with those things up there?
I would be wrong to think that my children should find their upbringing on social media. But at the same time, if my children are still young, 7 years and 4 years.
A 7-year child now is like a 14-year-old of our times.
That's true. But I would also be burying my head in the sand to assume that they will not access these platforms. So what I try to do as a mother is to educate them and try to use the security systems in the gadgets to sort out this information based on age, create accounts that are age appropriate, and so that way you can be able to sort of sieve, but it's not foolproof. And also what is to be encouraged is to allocate time where you can sort of observe what is happening.
Some censorship,
some censorship, because to say that you're going to completely exclude your children, it means that they will somehow find a phone from whoever they want or a tab from someone, and then you're not sure what kind of content they're going to consume. So in my view, as parents, we should be open enough to have conversations with our children in terms of the quality of content they should consume, when they should consume it, how often we should consume it, without saying, no, don't go there.
Because then
inevitably they will
go there.
Yeah.
So as a mother, how are you protecting your family from counterfeits? Because we have counterfeits in all aspects of your home. From the detergent, going to the kitchen, we have a lot of fake curry powder, the cooking oil, actually most of it on the market. The honey, I was actually told a lot of the honey is just syrup. That honey is actually increasing cases of diabetes.
Wow,
because you think, sugar. You're taking actually, it's worse than sugar. We have fakes in wheat. We have fakes in the vegetables because of the pesticides that are sprayed there. How is Amalie protecting her family, her young family, from counterfeits? And also you'll add, as we close, how are you protecting yourself? For example, the beauty products you use. Tell us, give us some tips.
That's a tough question you've asked, and it's caused me to check myself. There's only so much we can do because of the scale of counterfeits. So I will go to the supermarket, use my eyes to sort of analyze and see if the product is genuine. But
What
I
are
can
the
only
things you
do
look out
so
for?
much. Yes?
What are the things you look out for?
So I have a relationship with the brands, for the common brands. So I would try as much as possible to look at whether if it's a bottle, the mark should be clear, the label should be clear, the bottle is not old, the date of expiry is far beyond the date at which the ingredients. That is what I would try to do. But I will also try not to consume products which are processed insofar as I can, or consume them less often than ordinarily some people would. Because if you're consuming counterfeit products, at least consume the ones which are less likely to have side effects. And I might be wrong.
All counterfeit things are the same.
No.
Okay.
I think that there is a difference between consuming counterfeit processed meats, for example, and we can stretch this argument, and an organic but counterfeit chicken, for example,
which is full of antibiotics and all those things, and you eat the meat. Same. So, actually, it's more dangerous.
Yeah, and that is why I said it's very debatable. So I would try as much as possible, instead of, for example, eating maybe using processed chicken or eating processed chicken, I would try and use organic products. Where I can, I would try and use suppliers that I know. If it's honey, for example, I will try and go to someone who has consistently supplied good honey. But there's only so much that we can do. That's the truth.
Don't you think, Amalie, that part of the problem is compounded by the fact that the brands are not willing to help us to differentiate between the genuine product and the fake versions of the product, even when they shall be aware that there is a fake on the market? You will go shooting in the dark, you go to the supermarket, the things look the same, the price is the same, they are sold in the same place. Don't you think there's brand responsibility here that is being neglected?
I agree that brand owners have a duty to their customers, first of all, to ensure that their products are not fake. So we start with them, make sure that whatever product you're putting on the market is not fake. But they also have an extended duty to make sure that whatever product is on the market that is likely to be associated with their brand is fake, it should be removed. Because if I consume it, it will be long before
but they're not even telling you the
me.
Difference. That's what Duncan is. The first D is
now you see that
differentiation.
the challenge they have is, if I tell you the difference, I'm telling the counterfeit as well. So the counterfeiter is also going to go and say, oh, so you told me this is how you make this, this is what this product should look like, and then I'll run to it.
So product liability is not there?
Product liability is there on their part, but insofar as we can show that there was sheer negligence on their part. If they're taking some proactive steps, sensitizing the masses, I've seen products also being rebranded every now and then they can't be completely blamed. But if they're doing nothing and they let, of course, eventually, if you sit back as a brand owner and you don't do anything, it will affect your bottom line. Because then once I consume your product and I realize it's not working as good as it used to, I will switch to the next product. So
okay, Damali, we need to end here, but I'll end on the note that counterfeiting can also be in the way you conduct yourself or you live and do your things. And so I'll pose a question to you. Which gender do you think is more counterfeit? Is it the ladies? Is it the men? Seeing us, for example, most women will remain the same age each year. So you celebrate a birthday for a lady, you shall not ask them what their age is. So who is more fake, the ladies or the guys?
Are we talking about the spiritual perspective? Because even when we go into that dimension, it will be different. The men will say, I mean, the women came from our ribs, so we are the genuine. But also,
give it whatever dimension.
As a mother, will say, I mean, the child, even whatever happens, the mother always has to, to play a significant role. So honestly, I know it would serve your interest for me to say, the men are faking it. The men are faking it, especially of this day and age.
They are outdoing themselves.
They are outdoing themselves with being fake. Yeah.
Amalie Tibugwisa Ntende, thank you so much. She's managing partner at Tara Advocates. She was here to discuss with us the subject of counterfeits, first in the legal profession, in the trade and business, in health, at home. We thank you so much for making the time. I think it has been a very welcome addition to our programming, and would like to thank our viewers, listeners who make it a date every Friday to tune in and watch this important subject. This is the only show that deals with the subject of counterfeits. And remember to always don't be fake and buy and sell genuine.